We are going to get into another chapter now, which is chapter 9 in your book, Employee Development and Career Management. So as you open your slides, I've sent you these slides already. They're on SMP and they're also on Google Classrooms. As you open the slides, you will see that there's a variety of definitions there, which can easily be confused, but they're not the same. They mean completely different things. There's a difference between education, training, development, and learning. I've given you the definitions of each of these terms in your slides, so go look at them. They're also in your book, and know the difference between the four terms. The law that governs employee development within organizations is the Skills Development Act. I'm not going to talk about the act or what it entails or what it is, because we've already covered it. However, I have put information on the act in your slides. The first thing that we're going to get into is training. So training is a process where employees acquire skills and knowledge in order to help them accomplish organizational goals. So the definition of training in itself already gives you the purpose of training. Why do employers train their employees? Why is it important? Employers train their employees because they want them to be well vested in the job. They want to increase their knowledge and skill in the job. It improves their morale because it shows that the person that you're working for is investing in you, is investing in your knowledge. They're investing in your brain. It also improves their work, the type of work that they're doing, the quality of work. It improves their speed of work. It benefits the organization as a whole. It benefits the employer. It benefits the employee, whether they're in the organization, even after they leave the organization. It also fulfills the legislation requirements, as you will see in the beginning of the chapter and as we covered earlier in the semester. It reduces cost and wastage because people know how to do the job, and chances of them making mistakes are very I'm so sorry about that dog. So chances of them making mistakes are very small. It also allows for employees to be able to adjust to change easily. So for example, say you've got new technology, new machinery that you want your employees to know how to use. When you train them on how to use it, then they can quickly adjust and know how to use that particular system easily. It creates a positive climate within the organization as well, which is directly related to employee morale. Contributes to organizational development. I think I've already touched on that, in that if your employees know how to do the job, it's for the good of the organization, because the results, the performance, beyond the performance of the employee, the performance of the organization in itself actually improves. There's like a session in your slides where I gave you purposes of employee training. Go look at them. You don't necessarily have to use the ones that are in the book. It's many, because this is very subjective. It's many of them, some in the book, some not in the book, so take note of that. And then we will get into models of training. Any model of training that you will see in any book literally hovers around this model that we will cover, or the concept of training models are really not different. You may get different terms for it, but the concept, the underlying theme behind them is the same. So the one that we will look at in your book, the one that's in your book, is called the contemporary model of training, which is a 4-stage cycle, which starts with assessing the training needs, which is stage 1. Stage 2, designing and promoting the program. This stage 3 is where you prepare and you present the training program, and the last stage is quite obvious. You assess, so you get feedback for the training that you would have done. In the training needs assessment, which is the first stage, you try to identify the gap between what you expect from your employees and what your employees can do. The job description says they must be able to do the skills that they are required to have in that job, the knowledge and the experience that they're required to have in that job, and the actual knowledge that your employees have, the skills that they have, the experience that they have. So if the gap is too large between what's expected from your employees and what they have or what they know, then obviously there's a need to train that particular employee. Right? Assessment can be done in 3 stages. So you get organizational assessment, operational assessment, and then you get individual assessment. With organizational assessment or analysis, this is where you are really analyzing the performance of an organization as a whole, the goal. So you look at things like employee turnover, you look at absenteeism, you look at productivity. Operational analysis on the other end is analyzing how the job should be done, right? What's required in the job? What are the skills that are required in the job? What type of person do you need in the job? What experience should they have for them to be able to carry out that particular task? Is it a realistic task? And upon analyzing that, you then move to the third stage of training needs analysis, which is now individual analysis, where you identify the employee's training needs. So you look at the organization, you look at the job itself, and then you look at what your employees can do. Are they able to do the operations that are required in the job? If not, then there's a need to train. If they can, then there's no need to train. But obviously there's always room for improvement, because we live in a very dynamic society which is always changing, and those changes affect operations in organizations and businesses in general. We move on to stage 2, which is training, design and analysis. So under training and design and analysis, you design the program that you are going to give to your employees. Then look at things like the outcomes that you hope for your employees to achieve after the training program. So for example, you may be taking them for an office management course. So at the end of that office management course, if you take your receptionist to an office management course, they should be able to have phone etiquette, they should be able to do basic administration, they should be able to use basic technology in the spectrum of their job. So those are the outcomes. Under this stage as well, you try to determine appropriate training methods. So what is the best method of training that should be given to each particular individual who is going to go through training? Some jobs, it may be better to do on the job training, whereas in other jobs it may be better to take the person away from the job so that they can go and learn. You clarify what is expected from both the trainee and the trainer. Where are you getting the trainer from? Is it someone from within the organization, or are you outsourcing your trainer? And then the last thing that you need to take note of under this second stage is you need to provide basis for evaluation when the training is complete. So how are you going to evaluate your people? How are you going to evaluate them to ensure that they know or they have learned something from the training program that you were offering them? And then we move on to stage 3, which is preparing and presenting the training program. This is pretty easy, very basic and straight to the point, where you find different training programs that are suitable for the particular individual, for your pocket and organization, right? And even their job. So you try to find what is the most feasible method of training, and when you have found that particular method, then you give it to your employees, right? It's many methods of training, but they can be divided into 2. The first one is on the job training, and the second one is away from the job training. On the job training is training that takes place while the employee is doing the job. You don't have to move away from your organization or go to a different learning institution for you to learn the job. You learn the job while you are doing it. And this type of training can be facilitated by your superiors, your supervisors, your immediate manager, fellow employees, people who are experienced in doing their job. It's cost effective. It may be time consuming, especially for the people who are teaching you how to do the job, because they're taking away from their working time in teaching the other employees. But it's cost effective because it's in-house training. Some methods of on-the-job training could be coaching, job rotation, where you are moved from one job to another so that you are exposed to different functions of the organization. You get mentoring, understudy, where you follow behind someone who is experienced in the job and you just basically learn and see how they do the job, and then when your opportunity or your time comes to do the job, you know exactly what's expected from you. And then you get away from the job training. Away from the job training is where training takes place outside of the organization, outside of your job. So you may need to go to a learning institution to acquire the skill that's required in this particular job. It can take place in form of lectures, case studies, role playing. It usually is facilitated by people outside of the organization. It can be facilitated by people within the organization, but because it's taking place away from the organization, it's usually facilitated by an outsourced trainer. And then you get the last stage, which is stage 4, assessing and evaluating training and development programs that would have been given to your employees. Well, it's 4 levels of evaluation that can be used. How the participants behaved, what the participants learned, did the participants' behavior change, were the organizational goals affected. We move on to career management. Career management is a strategy that is taken on by organizations to ensure that employees who've got the right skills, qualifications, and experience are trained for future positions, and they're trained to meet the vision and mission of the organization in the now and in the future. It allows for a continuous supply of talent. When you're promoting your employees, you promote from within, which is motivating and encouraging to them, and it makes them want to stay within the organization, which reduces employee turnover. As you enter the workforce, your career develops. You don't stay at one stage. Whether you go to school or not, it develops by virtue of you working and gaining the experience. Your career is developing. And there's a career development stage model that is in your book, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. The first one is establishment, the second one is advancement, the third one maintenance, and then the last one is withdrawal. Establishment is usually at entry level, where you are entering a new job, or you've just now finished studying and you're trying to find your footing in the corporate world. If that's where you are, you are forming perceptions about the corporate world. You are forming perceptions about yourself as an employee. You to build your career based on that. Under the establishment stage, you find that many people tend to move, or they tend to change careers. They may find out that they're actually not interested in that particular degree, and they're interested in something else, and then they follow that route, which is completely unrelated to what they may have studied initially. And then move on to the second stage, which is advancement. Under advancement, you are no longer new in the job. You now start to demonstrate competence within the job. You know exactly what's expected from you. You know what to do. You are knowledgeable about your job. You are knowledgeable about the organization. there's less supervision needed, because the people that you work for, the people that you work with, trust and know that you know what to do and you know how to go about. And you move on to the third stage, which is the maintenance stage, where you have full experience in your job. You are holding on to your career. People are coming to you to learn about their jobs, to get people. You are even engaging in training. You may be holding a senior management position at this particular time. But what happens in this stage is that you may begin to get bored, because you would have been doing this for a long period of time, which would then help you transition into the last stage, and that is the withdrawal stage. In the withdrawal stage, retirement begins. You feel some sort of fulfillment within yourself. You begin to feel that you did what you needed to do with your work life. You accomplished your goals. People come to you for career advice. You are available to help them. You're not really interested in working, and if you do get to working, it may just be voluntary work, or it may just be out. You may just be an agent who has been outsourced to help out with a particular skill in your previous organization, or it could be your organization at that particular point in time, right? So those are the career development stages that you need to know. And then you get career development. There's various of them, but I'm just going to talk about the few that are in your book, starting with performance appraisals. Under performance appraisals, you basically look at an employee's performance and see where they may be lacking and try to help them improve their performance, right? So you measure their performance and take the results that you would have gotten from that measurement. You sit down with your employee and you talk to them about poor performance or even good performance, and if it's bad performance, then you try to help them come up with solutions to remedy bad performance. If it's good performance, then you reward them. The next one is workshops with their employees, and just try to guide employees in where they may want to go in the next 10 or 5 years, what their career plans are, and just try to nurture and have them thinking about their careers in the long run. Maybe working, but you may not know where you want to go, what you want to do in the next 5 years. So with career counselors, they then help you figure out what you like, what you enjoy about your job, what you dislike the most about your job, and then they take that information and they guide you into figuring out where you may want to go in the future. Get things like customized materials, management by objectives. These are also methods of career development that help employees really figure out where they are, what they're doing, and where they want to be in the future. Okay, so this is the end of this chapter. I hope you guys understood. Again, if you have questions regarding this session, please let me know. I'm going to answer your questions. Next time, I'm going to be looking at the next chapter, and I'll see you then. Bye.